In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a regular typeface look like metal, and also how to add more of a rainwater texture to type, work with lens flare, and also how to change a silver into a gold. So let's begin. I'm going to do a new document, CMYK. If you want to, you can do black as your background instead of filling it in with black. Or you can do Option Delete to fill that in, as long as black is your foreground color. Next, what I'm going to do to get this foggy-like look, I'm going to come over and open my Clouds JPEG. You can find any of these on any of the free sites I've given you. So click and drag that over. Command T, so it fills up the whole space. And I want to desaturate this. Hotkey for that, Command Shift U. I'm going to change this to a linear light, and I'm going to reduce it down to about 30. I'm going to add a new layer, fill with black, Option Delete, and I'm going to add a mask on top of that. Painting with black, B on the keyboard, I'm going to paint back in some of this fog that I see down here. I would suggest a large soft brush. Next, I'm going to type out what I want to write. For the type I've chosen, it's called High Stories 2. I'm just going to Command T this and holding down Shift just to make it a little bit bigger and to fill up the space more. I'm going to right click, Control click, and let us convert this to a smart object. And let's copy that, Command J. I'm going to reduce the fill for right now to 0. And I'm going to come back to my original right clicking again, Control click over on this gray side. I'm going to go to blending options. And I'm going to work with these different effects to show you how you can build into a metal texture. So I'm going to first come to my bevel and emboss. I want to make sure the style is set to inner bevel. Usually it's probably set to outer, but I want inner this time. Set to inner bevel. We're going for metal, so chisel hard. Depth, you want 1000, direction up. Size, you want max out at 250. Soften, you want really at 0. The angle, we want to put in 132. And we want to check use global lights. Altitude, we want 20. And then for here, it really depends on your typeface. You can see how I'm getting these little notches around here and here, which I might not really want for this typeface just because it is so boxy and almost strange. So I might have to come in here and work around with this a little bit more. But what I found to work best for my typeface is the rolling slope descending. I'm going to make sure this is checked on. For highlight mode, I'm going to work with overlay, and I'm going to move this to 30%. Shadow mode, I'm also going to have it overlay with 50%. I'm going to come down here to drop shadow, making sure that's clicked. My blend mode, I want multiply with the opacity of 100. I want to click this color, and I want to make sure my color is sort of this brownish kind of color. You'd want it to be a dark gray or a black even, but this will soften it a little bit more. So I found that 4A2F2A works really well with this, or you can use these combinations as well. Distance, I want at 0, keep the angle the same, I want my size at 70, and everything else for right now. I also want to go to color overlay, and making sure I have a dark gray selected. A nice one here is 313131, and then keeping that opacity at 100%. So again, we went to bevel and emboss, we went to drop shadow, and we went to color overlay. Pushing OK. I'm going to come up here to my second type one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do Control click over here, blending options, but I'm going to change around the settings a little bit. So we're going to do bevel and emboss again, inner spine, chisel hard, depth. This time though, we're going to check off global lighting, and we're going to change this to 45 degrees. Altitude we can keep there. Here as well, You'll want to work around with what works best for you. So I actually really like how the cone one works, the second one in here. With the highlight mode, I want linear light, 60%, and I want shadow mode, this time to be different. I want that linear burn, 20%. Let's go to contour under bevel and emboss. We're going to make sure that this is smooth. So with this one, we're going to make sure that's checked. We're going to make sure the range is only at 50%. Next, we're going to go to stroke. We want the size of the stroke to be 1. Position outside is great. The blend mode, we went overlay with 60% opacity. We want the fill color there to be white. With inner shadow, we went the blend mode to be overlay with a medium sort of gray. So if you click here, 848484 is a good gray to go off of. You can also see again the breakdowns of these colors. Clicking OK there. Max out for the noise slider. The size you can stick around between 120 and 130. With the angle around 130, 132. Distance and choke we do one at 0. And we want around a 50% opacity. The last one we want to go with is satin. And with this we want an overlay and we went white. With the distance around 18 to 20. And the size around 70. And the contour again you can work with. Again, all typefaces will react to this slightly differently. So that is how you get a metal look. And now what we're going to go into, like how to make them gold, working with the lens flare, and how to make the weathered rain look. So bring in an image and click and drag that over. You'll want to make sure this is on top. And you sort of want to fit the rain for each one. So I'm actually going to click and drag this around. And I'm going to also copy it, which will make a new layer. So I'm actually going to do 2. I'm going to do one for the first word and then another one for the bottom words. Try to keep those water droplets in proportion. I'm going to select both of these or how many ever rain images you have. Right click. And I'm going to merge my layers. Now while this is selected, I'm going to come down here and click on my type by holding down Command. And you can see here that it has selected all my type. Again, this is highlighted. I'm just hovering over my thumbnail for my type and I hit Command. And that will select it. Now I'm going to go to Select, Inverse, and now selected the letters and I'm going to delete the rest. And I'm just going to do Command D to deselect that. I'm going to come up here to my blending modes and I'm going to do Overlay. And maybe like a 60-ish%. And you can see the trees sort of here and how that interacts. Add a mask and start like lightly painting that away. So I'm gonna lower my opacity maybe to about 40 and just lighten that so I still get the raindrops, but maybe I'm getting rid of that sort of tree line that we have. So there we go, I think that works out well there. And then if you like, you can go up to Filter, down to Sharpen, and Sharpen to get those to really pop out. Next we're going to do the flare. So I'm going to do Open Again, bring that in, and we can change this to Lighten. Sometimes Screen works depending on the image to try to get rid of that black, but Lighten seems to be working now. So I'm just going to click. I'm just going to Command T that and make it bigger. Now, as long as they're free to use, let's remember though that's there, right? So we can either select that with a rectangle marquee or we can paint that away. So I'm going to go ahead and place these where I want, but just try Lightened or Screen to help with that. So there's your lens flare. And what I did here, just like what I did with the raindrops, I selected them, I merged the layers. They might turn back to normal after that. Just go back and lighten them again. And there's that. And last, let's create some golden words. On a new layer, I'm going to select the words that I want gold. So let's do the top silver and the bottom gold here. And again, if you want to do words that were like maybe once here, maybe once there, just remember to always be on this to add to selection. I'm going to come here and I'm going to find an orangey kind of gold that I want to work with. And then Option Delete. Again, the reason why that filled in, because orange was in the foreground, Option Delete is the hotkey to fill in. Again, I'm on here. If I hold this, if I have this highlighted and I come down to my words right here, hovering over the thumbnail, I click Option and click, and that will select my words and maybe some other things. But it's loading my selection. So I'm going to come up here, just like what I did with the raindrops, and I'm going to inverse, and I'm going to delete. And this is orange. I'm going to come over here to color. This way it comes through all the droplets. And go ahead and change opacity to where you want it to look. Maybe you don't want a really bright gold. That's up to you. Now, again, if I want to change these layer blends, be easy enough to do. I can just come over, make sure I'm on here, come to adjustments, and you can work with various ones of these, but let's just go to hue and saturation, and I'm just going to move this around. You see it's all becoming more green, and also everything is, so I'm actually going to come here and do my clipping mask so it won't affect anything but that. But maybe I want them a little bit more of a golden color. I can work with saturation, I can work with the lightness. So all of those are options for you to work with. And that is how you can work with the metal texture, working with water on there, adding layer flenses, creating smoke, and also making it gold. Again, a lot of this was going into your effects and just really experimenting with these processes. And go ahead and work with them and see how it works best with your typeface and its angles. There you go.